So you should be able to.
Yes, we are now recording, which is great. So I can send it to anybody who's missed the session today. So that's just a quick screenshot of Eugenie. We're on both mobile and web. And if you are looking for a community platform, definitely check us out. We're offering free trials at the moment. So let's jump into the why. And for now, I'm also going to just take myself off camera as well and just go so you guys can focus on the slides and my voice. Okay, so in an age where marketing is becoming increasingly customer-centric, online communities are merely the evolution of standard online business website, blog content, landing pages, and e-commerce. So online communities have been around since the beginning of the internet, right? They were forums when we first started, people were responding to questions in a Q&A format, to today's Facebook groups, Slack channels, and private networks like Eugenie. With interactive communities, we have the opportunities to truly listen to our customer. They can help us develop our marketing strategy. It can help us launch new products and services to a warm audience. So there's a great retention and new product advantage there. But it can also reduce customer service costs because it allows us to create a space where in a true community, customers can answer questions with each other and become advocates. So there's a whole lot of benefits, which I'm going to go through this evening as to why it is that we build customer communities. Now, once a customer finds you, returning to your website, as beautiful as it might be, is not really their top priority. It's going to stop becoming, less important to them. We're using our websites today to really be digital salespeople for us. We want people to come there. We want them to discover us. Now, I know we put, even with Eugenie, you've got a sign in and a sign up button, which is on our clients' websites. But generally, people want very easy access to you once that they found you, right? They're not necessarily, it's not that they're not interested in your new products or your how-to information, their order status or special offers. It's just that they're not necessarily wanting to come back to a website to do that. They're engaging with brands in very different ways. And ultimately, customer communities is just also, it's very consumer driven. Consumers are wanting places where they can go and get real-time information, where they can, talk to you about your brands, your values. They want to get to know you as a brand, not just what your product services are. I mean, nearly 2/3 of surveyed global consumers say that they prefer to purchase products and services from companies that stand for a purpose that reflects their own values and beliefs. And they're going to actually avoid companies that don't actually fall in line with what they think. So I've already talked a little bit about how you can use communities to support your users, but also really allowing them to connect with your values so that if they're making decisions based on values and choosing brands based on, if it's sustainability or whether it's community and collaboration, what's going on in your community will allow them to connect with that in a much more meaningful and a deeper way. And once that relationship gets deepened, your customer becomes more loyal to you. And the final thought we'll leave you tonight when we get to the end is that we're using our communities to create a community of advocates, of ambassadors and fans that are going to organically go around and talk about how great we are and how great our product and service is. Creating that fan base with our customers, with our existing customers, is the most cost-effective way to sell today anyway. So if you're looking at customer communities so that you can get more sales into the business, it's definitely going to give you that ROI if you put in the time and effort to build that customer community and then, of course, constantly engage and retain them. So again, if we just look at some cold hard facts as to why customer communities are beneficial, 60 to 70% higher chance that an existing customer will buy from you rather than the 5 to 20% chance of a new one. I mean, there's a lot of statistics as well as how expensive it is to get a new lead and a new customer into your business today. And that's because we're trying to build the know, like, trust factor, right? We want to work with brands that we know, that we like, and that we trust. And so if you've already gone through the process of building that know, like, trust with your customer community, they're definitely much more likely to buy from you. So it's natural that once you've done that, you are going to retain your customers. And when we look at selling, the 5 stages of selling, this one being the 4th stage of retention, this is really where you're wanting to strengthen that relationship so that your customer doesn't go away. And customer communities can do a large part of that for you if they're done properly. I've already kind of told you this fact, so let's just move into some of the other facts. So we've got 49% of businesses with online communities, they say that they save an annual 10 to 25% And where does this saving come from? A lot of it does come from reducing the amount of customer service channels that they're needing to create, right? So having, how many times have we heard from small business owners who are on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and they're getting customer queries coming from 5 different channels? Now, I appreciate that as a small business, we want to be available to our customers on multiple platforms, but I think ultimately, actually, things start to get lost as well. So it's not just inefficient for you as a brand as you grow and scale, but ultimately it's going to cost you more, because at some stage, it's not just you that needs to monitor that. There are some great tools out there for that kind of cross-platform messaging, which is not the point of tonight, but there's a platform called Shift that I'm testing at the moment that brings all those channels and the messaging together to kind of make sure that we can have the omni-channel presence that we're told we need without it having a huge impact on our time and efficiency. 80% of business decision makers prefer to get company information in a series of articles or small snippets versus an advertisement. Now, as consumers, we don't like being sold to anymore, right? We don't want to, yes, in the 80-20 rule of 80% content should be value add, educational, and helpful, with 20% of that being, yes, buy this product. I'm not saying that we're not necessarily putting sales content and sales ads out there, but in terms of that awareness and consideration phase, when people are thinking about buying from you, especially for certain types of businesses, such as service type of businesses, they do really want to be educated to your value in small snippets. And I think a part of this,
what happened?
Oh, sorry. The screen disappeared for me, so I wasn't sure if I was gone, but I guess I'm still here. Okay. So 80% so people want to learn. And I think this is also a nature of the fact that we are all on social media. And with social media, we are learning, our attention span has now become bite-sized. So it is really important to start educating. This is not always for just our current customers, but definitely also for potential customers who can come in and join a funnel community that you might create. And I'll ask Bhavna a little bit about this later in terms of how she's done it. 67% of businesses use their communities for insights to new products, services, and features. And this is one of the things that we definitely do here at Eugenie. We introduce new things to our customers first. Sometimes it's just for a bit of testing to say, look, we're launching this new product. We're going to give you access to it. We're going to give you a special offer. We'd love your feedback before we actually then roll it out to new customers or into the market. We've also got 55% of consumers who say that easy access to support and information can really help them fall in love with the brand. Now, I don't know as much about every business that's on this call tonight, but if you're a small business or a service-based business, one of the big things that does set us apart is service, and our customer service being quick, being on time, and being really efficient. And a customer community can really, brings a cost down of that from having people to do tickets and all that thing on channels, but also there might be conversations or other people in your community that can provide that support through, in Successful Superwin, for example, people ask questions all the time that of course Bhavna can answer, but the community is so strong and collaborative that other people come in there and also support, and making that something that Bhavna then doesn't need to do, not that she doesn't. And then we've got a research that was really interesting on looking at that a big chunk of our future revenue growth comes from 80%. So 80% of our revenue comes from a dependable 20% of our existing clients. This is just coming back to the fact that customer communities are really good for customer retention. We want to create, continuously deepening that relationship. And also it's really good for the bottom line to retain our existing customer base. So hopefully that kind of shows you guys that a brand or customer community can save you money, can make you money by driving sales and retaining customers. And although it does take a lot of time to build a customer community upfront and ongoing, they can be a very, very good marketing tool and can be a very good customer service tool. I mean, I think, I've been talking about the benefits of them. Just in case, let's just really quickly cover what a customer community is. Customer communities are it's excellent referral traffic source that will give you an opportunity to become a magnet to a bigger audience. As we jump into that, before we clarify and look at some definitions, I would ask you guys, how many of you feel you have an audience? And how many of you feel that you already have a community? There is an easy test for this and just determining whether you have an audience or community. Would your online audience continue without you, without your content, and without your incentives? So if you were to walk away from, let's say, your Facebook group, would that would that group continue to talk? Would it continue to thrive? Or would it go silent and eventually probably just you would stop using that? Would the community, however, on the other side, continue to talk to one another, continue to support each other within the values that you've set up? And if you can say that second part, and this is again my humble opinion, if you've got that community that is now talking to each other, that peer-to-peer support, then you've moved from audience to community. And I have another webinar that we talk about marketing funnels, but this is a quick list of looking at what differentiates the tools between an audience and a community. And I would assume most of us have an audience. If we can build a Facebook page, we can build our own personal pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Most of us have people that are, that might be a small audience to millions of people, but listening, engaging, posting relevant content. There's the game economy, where if you're giving something away for someone's attention, I would be careful with that in terms of community. Can you scale that? Look at your business objectives and how big you want to grow, and will the gaming economy be scalable in your current model? But in terms of an online community, we're looking at naming the group, having individual events for that group, having insider jargon or symbols, developing that shared narrative, and having the same values and rituals. Ultimately, those are the types of things that we're looking for when we're saying that we have built an online community. And a customer community is defined as places or platforms for customers, experts, partners, and others to discuss a product, a marketplace, post reviews, brainstorm new ideas. There's a lot of things that can be a customer community. And as we start looking at in a few minutes how to build one, some of the steps and things that you need to look at to build a customer community, one of the first things we're going to talk about is defining what it is that you want to get out of your customer community, where you want to host it, and that sort of thing. But before we do that, let me go through a couple of examples. Now, we've got Bhavna here with us today, which I'm going to do some Q&A with in about 10 minutes. But let's look at Sephora as well. And many of you may be familiar with the makeup brand Sephora. And we've got lots of great examples from big companies out there, from Nike to Starbucks, that are using customer communities for a lot of the reasons that I've shared tonight. But with Sephora, they do a really great job of making customers feel connected with their online community. It's a forum. It's called Beauty Talk. It's massive. It's really well organized, but it is a forum. It's not a group, and it's using that forum concept. On the board, it allows customers to engage with the products of the community, but also upload photos of themselves wearing Sephora products, asking questions and sharing. And then the marketing team at Sephora can actually go in and grab those photos and use them for their own marketing campaigns. That's selling without even selling. The customers have become instant brand ambassadors. They're inspiring others on how to use the products. And Sephora is not even having to lift a finger, because they've just created this platform that is empowering their customers to essentially become their advocates and their salespeople. And the other things that they can do is they can look at what their customers' pain points are, because people might ask a question, does this come in a different color? I had a problem applying this in this way. So they're also looking at these forums for the questions that people are asking, to understand what else can we do to solve this pain point? What other product or service can we launch based on the feedback questions that we're getting? So now that we're understanding why they're important, what I'd like to talk about is looking at building your own and how you do that. Because of course, I think most of us understand the importance, or how a customer community might be beneficial for brands. How we build one, it is time intensive, and I don't think it's always the technology side. There's a lot of technical solutions out there. Of course, us being one, we look at what else is out there in the market. But it is really strategy, your strategy, not the technology, that's going to determine the success of any online marketing initiative. And essentially, that's what a customer community is. We really need to have a plan of, and we're going to go through them in step by step, but the who, what, the where, the why, all of those steps. And a lot of it, as Bhavna will probably tell you, takes quite a lot of time and planning before you even potentially open the doors for your customers. So what are the different types of customer communities and the different funnels that you can use? It doesn't always have to be a Facebook group. It doesn't always have to be a social media channel. There are other ways of creating a customer forum or customer community. I think today we all just think of that in that kind of Facebook group style, but you can create a forum like Sephora did, and put lots of, people can ask questions, share photos, talk to each other. They can be through surveying your customer community and engaging with them in that way. Of course, emails and newsletters and databases, I mean, it's more of a one-way communication, but it can start to build that kind of conversation and showing that value that you're going to do with content inside the kind of Facebook style of customer community. And ultimately, we go all the way to membership sites where you go and build your own site for your customers. Each of these has a different role, and it all depends on what your objective is when you're building your customer community. So when I think I've put these in here so you can take a look at all the different styles, but you can't really choose which one you want until you start asking yourself a bunch of strategic questions, right? So you need to start looking and asking yourself the questions I'm going to run you through so that you can create a cohesive strategy on building this community for yourself. So let's take a look at what is the fundamental reason that you want to build this community? Why is it that you want to build a customer community? Is it to improve the quality and the products of your services? Is it for existing customers and an opportunity to educate them, to give them additional value, to give them potential offers and services? Is it for potential customers? Is it for, anyone can come to your Facebook, branded Facebook group. It's open community, anyone can join it and come and learn a little bit about you. Is it about increasing, making you more visible? So again, having that lead generation potential. Or is it a direct sales or membership site? So is your customer community actually behind a paywall and it's only accessible if someone is paying you a monetary fee? Your why and your fundamental reason for building your community is definitely going to affect the strategy, your platform, and your behavior and the resources that you need when you start to plan this and execute it wherever it is that you're going to do. Let's take a look at the who, the how, the what. And the types of things that you're going to want to ask yourself is how many members do you think you want in your community? Now, many of us want to scale big businesses. I mean, we would love to have millions of people in our customer communities at some stage, but you might be a coach and you're using a community to keep all of your, let's say, 10 people in a mastermind connected. It's looking at how many people you want in your community. Do you want it to be open or private, as I've mentioned about? So is it a lead generation thing where people are coming in, talking to you, connecting with one another, but they don't necessarily already have had to bought from you or a paid member? Or is it private? Is it behind a paywall? We use email, a lot of times we use content marketing to get someone's email. We give them value for them giving us the email so that we can contact them. The same thing that can be done in a closed community as well somewhere where someone can get in for free, but they are giving you the right to talk to them. Because again, we're looking at, some of the technicalities would be GDPR and those sorts of things. We're looking at the quality of the content and the quantity of the content. The quality should always be high, but in terms of how often do you want to connect with your customer? What types of content are you going to share with them? How many active threads? Is there going to be quite a lot of things? And I'm asking these questions because then you want to start looking at, when we look at the final step of where you're going to host your customer community, you're going to be looking at the platform in different ways depending on what the answers to these questions are. And content is really important. I mean, one of the tips is that you're going to start building a content plan, but let's go into the next one before we jump into content, because content can be quite a big one. So while you're also asking the who, you want to be identifying who your ideal customer or member is. And this is all part of who's going to be in the customer community, but many of us are doing this community, building communities to get potential leads and people to connect with us and our brands. So we really want to identify who our ideal customer is so that we can attract the right people and create the right and relevant content, which keeps them engaging with you. Again, this always ties back to platform, because as much as the platform, in my opinion, is not always the hard part, it's the content, the ongoing engagement, making people, if you want to run your community on Slack, but people are not already familiar with Slack, you need to understand where the people you're trying to attract live, because it will impact your potential choice of customer community platform. Staying organized and creating a content, I have seen over and over in the work that I do with our customers, because as I said, we work with people on strategy as well, on content strategy. And one of the biggest things that people tell me their challenges is that creating the content. So, they want to create a membership or they want to create that customer community, and they struggle to keep the posting up, which I think everyone can probably relate to if you do social media marketing or marketing in the digital form. Always keep making sure that we are understanding what's being posted. And I always say, if you can do at least a skeleton content calendar with content ready for at least 3 months, you can then focus on the trending stuff that might come up in your industry or for your customers. There might be something that is really timely that needs to happen on a weekly basis, but if you have a content already scheduled to go out in your community, then you can be focusing on some of those other things. You want to ask yourself, do you need help, with admins or moderators? And this might be to do various different things, help you write content, choose and set up your platform depending on your technical ability, posting your content. So that's that ongoing engagement, the ongoing posting into the community. Now, schedulers can do a great bit of that work, but there is stuff that needs to be responded to, monitored on a daily basis. And especially in the early days of building any online community, you'll feel like you only have an audience because most of the time it is you posting content and all you hear is crickets. No one is talking yet. It takes time. I'll say, it's not one of the tips today, but it's a general tip with anything online. These things take time, so you should be patient and kind with yourself, but also very present. If you're building one of these things, you definitely want to be in your community and responding. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen, not mistakes, but things where your customers or your members start to talk, nobody else is responding yet, and the admin, the moderator, or the customer community owner also didn't, jump in and respond. So that member's not going to feel like, this is a channel that they may want to talk in again. And looking at also if your platforms that you're bringing on have different types of rights. So, if you want to protect your data, if you have an admin that you don't want them to see email addresses, for example, looking at the platform and what its capabilities are in order to protect your data. So I've already kind of mentioned this. Content, technology, engagement are kind of the big areas in which we're looking for help. We've got, if anybody is struggling with any of these, if you already have a customer community, we have lots of contacts. We're going to be launching a membership for people who run memberships. And so I've got some great people who could help you with these different things. If anybody is struggling, feel free to reach out and I can recommend. You're going to be looking at the analytics as well. So what do you want to measure and how, and what do you want to use that data in the benefit of your business? So, is it real-time alerts? Is it monitoring of what people are looking at? How long are they looking at it? Trending topics inside the community? What kind of customer data and analytics do you want? Again, it's going to affect the platform that you're going to choose. Because ultimately, we can talk a lot about the content and we can talk about your vision, but if you can't measure it, it's very difficult to understand whether your community is successful or not. And I'm going to go into the platform now as well. So as you're looking at, in terms of, these are the types of things that I would say look at in terms of data. I'm going to be sending these slides out. I know the kind of, I really want to hear from Bhavna this evening, but so I'm going to send all these slides to you guys. But there are so many platforms out there, right? It's one of the questions we get asked a lot, especially because now we're in this space. Should I use WhatsApp? Should I use Slack? Everyone's already on Facebook. I should just use Facebook. Why should I use something like Eugenie? We get asked this quite a lot. And so, we have a blog on our website about this as well that digs in a little bit deeper. But these are the types of questions I would ask myself in terms of when you're choosing a platform for your online community, your customer community. What's your budget and how much does the platform cost? And if you don't have a budget for the platform itself, there are some great free tools out there as well. But take a look at how that's going to work for you at scale. Is the platform easy to use, not only for you, but for your members? And do they know how to use it? Is it a good user interface? Are you happy to try something and grow? It's about looking at the platform ease of use. Does it allow people to reshare your content? We're talking about the final point of creating a community of fans, then it's really important that they can share the content. But then again, if it's behind a paid wall, if it's a value add community where you don't want them sharing, making sure that you can lock away some of that valuable content that's only for your paid customers. Does the platform allow for push notifications or text message integration? So this is really just about integrating with other systems. Do you like it? Can you customize it for your liking? Can you get, especially in a customer community, you really want your brand on it, brand colors, logos, so that you can create that association with your brand every single time your member is using that platform. And ultimately, do you control that data? Just a couple of things with Facebook recently that we've been hearing it for a couple of years now, but even just in general, with the algorithm shifting, people are coming to us because their members are not seeing content or they're not easily able to find the content. So also, I've had a couple of horror stories of people who have been shut out of their own Facebook group. So, the way to protect yourself on that, if you are using Facebook, is making sure that there's another admin that you trust with all of your, with your community, so that if you are kicked out for some reason, there's this big group on Facebook all about memberships, and anyone wants, I can share some of the groups that I'm in. But the owner was actually, his account was frozen. So, he had an admin that he trusted, but let's just say that you didn't have that. You'd be locked out of your own group and it wouldn't be great. So, you can take a look at that sort of thing. And ultimately, customers are really looking for that you're talking to them directly. We cannot use a one-size-fits-all approach anymore in content marketing, engagement, conversion. So if you are, let's say, for example, a coach where you have people going through different phases, if you do want to use Facebook or WhatsApp or Slack, make sure that you're creating different channels or different groups so that people are not getting with that one-size-fits-all content. They want to really be able to see that this is relevant to me and this is valuable to me where I am in my journey. They don't care that you have to run 16 groups. They want to know that what they're seeing is relevant to them. And you also want to make sure that you can monetize your community. We talked about one of the big benefits being that you can upsell products and services. So if your platform doesn't allow you to do that, if your technology doesn't allow you to very easily kind of upsell to your members, it's one of the, it can make it more difficult. Now, yes, you can drop in, Stripe links, website links, lead people where you want. We do a lot of that at the moment because we haven't built every single payment integration yet. We haven't built payment integrations. So we know how to hack the system, but we know that ultimately we want to make it as easy for our clients as possible to be able to upsell. And in a happy, engaged, fan-based customer community, they will buy from you because they already trust you. And these are the different types of content that you can do at the different phases. And this is actually less customer community focused. It was another webinar, I just threw it in. So when you guys get the slides, it's a bonus. But the types of things that you're going to want to be doing is follow-up calls or emails, offering customer support. That could also be posts or lives in your groups, onboarding emails, helping people with every step of the journey, relevant product-focused blogs and videos, and recommendations as well for add-on products. Whether those are yours or not, it's just another way to also be collaborative if you can recommend somebody else's products. But the ultimate goal in building this community of advocates is so that they organically share word-of-mouth referrals. That is one of the most powerful forms of marketing and actually the most cost-effective. So let's jump into our Q&A. I don't know, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop my screen share, come back on camera. I don't know if anybody has to put any questions into the chats, but we can go ahead and check that. Bhavna, if you'd be so kind to give me back the hosting so I can go into...
Of course. Just 1 second. There you go. Ooh, how do I do that? Hang on. Oh, there you go. Make host.
Okay, perfect. So as I mentioned in the earlier, in the beginning, if I'm not sure if everyone heard me, is we are also going to do this live, the Q&A part in Bhavna's group this evening, because Bhavna is also has a customer community on Facebook. And so we want her customers to see her. So we want her members to be able to see and learn from her. And we all do all the time, actually a member in her community myself. So just give me 1 minute to get that going, and then we will jump into the Q&A and learn from some practical experience. And Bhavna, it's been so great. I've been a member of Success Rumen myself for the past few years. I've learned quite a lot from you myself, but could you give us your why did you go down the route of building this customer community?
So for me, the Successful Superwomen's been running for just over 2 years now, I think coming up to 2.5 years now. And when I started it, it was really because there was a need for me to build a community of female businesswomen who were like-minded, who I could share my journey with, because it's very lonely being self-employed. I had also just had a baby, and it was all, well, not just, but, he was just over a year old, and it can get very kind of, boring to do it on your own. So I had been kind of mentoring people on the back of things. I also have a very successful photography business. And then the lady I was coaching with at the time said, why don't you just start your own group? And I was like, well, I'm not sure, it feels like it's going to be a lot of work. But it started solely for the purpose of it being somewhere where I could share my thoughts, where I could build that community, where I could belong. And it's, as you know, grown into something absolutely phenomenal. We're 2.5 years into it with over 3,000 members in it. And it's become a lot more than just an audience. It's become a lot more than just the safe space that I wanted. It's just become an amazing community of women that are supportive, encouraging, and they're just, you ask anything and there will be a response to it. You want banners, there'll be a response for it. You're stuck with SEO, you have a response for it. You want someone who, is a local hairdresser, you'll have a response for it. It's not just completely down to the business, but it's there to support those small businesses find their own community within the community. So as you know, within Successful Superwomen, we have women that are from all walks of life, and they are from various areas of the country. So a lot of those areas have formed their own little hub. So, like in South London, they have a little hub of their own. They've all met on Successful Superwomen, but now they've become really good friends, and now they've formed their own community and their own support and accountability groups where they have now got that network, which they didn't have in the past. So it's the effect is kind of, it's like a spiral, it's like all the good stuff happening. And that's what communities can do. And that's the power of a community. If you build it right, it's a very powerful tool.
And how has that helped your business? So, that happened organically. And I think you now have 2 groups as well. And you also have your membership, right? And different parts of your business, your photography business as well. So how has that community helped you in terms of revenue and lead generation and, that and retention of customers?
So in terms of my photography business, what it's done is given me visibility. So, when you build something like Successful Superwomen, you are building your credibility as well. And, I'm very authentic. I'm very true to myself. So when I come across, I've been live in my PJs. I've been live with my child on, breastfeeding my child, or halfway through the night when I want to talk about something. And so because of that, the credibility as well and the authenticity comes through, and people relate to those scenarios. When in other groups, which there are some, obviously there are a lot of groups in Facebook where there are where people ask for referrals for a wedding photographer, I often find that they will post about me, or they will say, we recommend Bhavna. So they may never have used me, but because they know me from my community and they've seen my work, then they go, well, we know a photographer, it's Bhavna. She also runs Successful Superwoman, but she's a very good photographer. So it's helped in that respect to expand the visibility. In terms of the Successful Superwoman group itself, we launched our membership in January of this year. So some could argue that we could have started it earlier, but I think for me, the right time was now. I knew that I wanted it now. And we launched the membership portal. And it was really on the back of the fact that I asked my community, I asked them if they would be willing to spend that money, in a membership portal where they would get a plethora of information, where they are getting constant encouragement and motivation in the one-to-one, and that kind of, network of women that they can bounce ideas off and collaborate with. And already so many women from the membership have collaborated together. So many more collaborations are coming, and the women in the membership group, when you say, when someone pays for a service, they're more likely to be more present, because they've paid for it. So they want stuff out of it and they want to learn. So we have over 60 different training sessions in that group already recorded by different experts that have come in. And so so now we've got the main group, which is I think it's 3,000 and nearly 3,100 women. And then we have the membership group, which has now grown to about 60 women. And I'm opening the gates again for the membership the 20th of July. And what that does is it brings in people close at the time. If they're still interested, then it gets people to come in, have a look, if they're happy. And the membership group is built so there's no obligation. So if someone doesn't want to be part of it anymore because they've they've got everything they wanted and they feel like their purpose has been served, they can leave. You know, there's no obligation to that. And I think that's the best way to do it, because you can't force someone to stay in a community. They've got to want to be there. It's really helped my daily, like, not just my income stream, but like my daily mindset as well, because now I don't feel like I'm running a community. You know, you spend up to 6-7 hours a day sometimes running a community. If it was just an audience, you could disregard it and go, well, it's fine. But there is so much engagement. There is such a need for you to go in and, the planning of it, to make sure that you're posting the right things at the right time, that you're responding to people's queries. You know, we have admins, but still it's it's your group, it's your community. So you've got to be in there and you've got to see what's happening, you know. And we still give value in that large group. So we still, just because we've got a membership, doesn't mean that this community doesn't need nurturing, doesn't mean this community doesn't need inspiring. So what we do is we still bring in the experts to come and do shorter sessions, so people are still getting some value. We still run challenges. We run, we've got the Saturday Souk, which is a huge success. And the Saturday Souk, again, it's a way of monetizing you, if not from your membership, but from your group, and saying, well, I will allow you to have the exposure and you can have it. Because it's needed, and small businesses want that. A lot of small businesses have lost, in this whole COVID thing, their way of selling, because, you know, all they're doing is showing up online, and they want to sell on other platforms. So giving them this platform means that they can come and sell to the 3,000 women and talk to them about their products and services. And then in return, you end up supporting small businesses as well. And I think what's really important is to make sure that you know how to nurture both your membership group and your community. Because I have seen many times that when you have a membership, you sometimes forget about the community that you've grown. And you know, when you said about, if I walked away from this community, what would happen to it? 100% guaranteed it would carry on. Because the people in that group have formed a bond, they have formed relationships. It will carry on. It will carry on, and people will, you know, start their own little collaborations from it again and again and again, because that is the ethos of it. You know, you have to nurture both. You can't forget one because you've now got a monetized on it, and you've got to also try and nurture your free group, so your community, because that's where your membership's going to be built from. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and I think it's, I guess every business is different, and I guess it is what you want back from it. You know, there are groups like the Sephora group that you've said, like Sephora's forum. There are other groups I've seen people come up. You know, a lot of MLMs have come up with their own Facebook groups where that is the platform they use to promote their products and services. I think Smia, if she's still on here, Smia's got her own group, because Smia does aloe vera products and she does the gua sha products. So for her, again, that is the community she's building to sell her services and to show people her products, because she cannot just go door to door to do it. She can't do it at a at an exhibition or anything like that. So she's got to find a portal to do it. And so now there's loads of these groups and loads of these communities, but not all of them are going to be successful, because there has to be this way of nurturing your community, of engaging with them. And if you can't engage with your community, if you can't be present, and because it's not like click your fingers and you've got 3,000 people, you know, it's a constant like engagement of, you know, what are you doing today? How can I help you? What are your pain points? Let me get help for you, or let me find that answer for you. And for them to believe in you, for them to trust you, and for them to say, yes, I can buy from you, because now you have shown me that this is everything that you've done for me is authentic, and I'm happy to go into your membership. So, I mean, I can go on.
One of the questions I always get in a lot of the different webinars, especially is content, right? I mean, a big part of building an online community, and I think most of the communities that we talk about are online now. We're not talking about building real world, right? So the question I get quite a lot is, how much content do people need to make these communities valuable? I mean, you have quite a lot of content in the membership. And so, can you talk to us a little bit about how you plan that out and that whole process?
So the content side of thing is really interesting, because when I started the membership, my perception was that I need to give them more, because they're paying for a service. So not only do I need to be present more, but I need to give them more content. Wrong, very wrong. Because what it does is it overwhelms not just yourself, because you've got to plan all that in, but also your members, because there's too much going on. They don't know whether they should be logging on, because I had training set up every single day in May and June. That is a lot of content. And then people are like, well, actually, this is all great content, but I don't know what I should be focusing on. I want to watch this, but I also want to watch that, So from July, we have made changes, and we're bringing in people. We're still bringing in speakers, but we're making sure that the experts are staggered and a little bit, with the content, we ask the community, what do you want help with? And some of it is stuff that I think they would benefit from, and some of it is what they want. So it's a combination. And over the 2.5 years, I've built a large like a contact base. So I've got, we had over 100 speakers lined up. They were ready to come and speak in my membership, but that's only through the networking. So building a community isn't just that you build a community and you're a one-man band. It's a lot about what goes on behind you, and who else are you connecting with that will help you grow your community, and how can you can come in. Sorry, I'm gonna have to bring my little boy in because he's just crying. Stop.
All he wants is you, and he's doing my nutsing. Hello, everybody.
Oh, not too much longer, Bryn.
Look, he's just gone quiet now. This is all he wants. He loves being on the screen. So building that contact list, and building that community of people that I can rely on, who I know that it's a two-way market, right? It's like if they want me to go and speak in their group, then I can do that, and if they want to come into my group, I can do that, and you swap, because that is what you would do if you were working 9 to 5 and you were in an office. If you were part of a team, you'd collaborate. Your marketing team would collaborate with your sales team, right? When you have a community, you don't really have all that. You don't have a team that is a marketing team or a sales team or a tech team. You are everything. So the best way is to collaborate with other experts who are experts in tech, who are experts in sales, who are experts in SEO, who are experts in building websites, and then bringing them in. And the only way you can do that is if you connect with them, whether it's through, like I've connected with you through, through Eugenie, and then other women through Eugenie as well, and similarly other networks around us as well, smaller networks as well, face-to-face networks, and then just contacting people. Even LinkedIn is a great source, making that contact with people, telling them what you do, and just asking, will you come into my community? And you'll be surprised how many people will be happy to come and do that.
Yeah.
The key thing to remember is, though, what are you going to give them in return? So it's all good for someone to come into a community and talk about their expertise, but you have to allow them to then have something, give people something in the group or leave something of value, and take something from value back. So whether it's allowing them to promote their course, or to give away the downloadables that can help people, you've got to give them that opportunity as well.
Yeah. So, bringing up Eugenie, you also have a hub on Eugenie,
Yeah.
and you're going to be, we're going to be relaunching it together as well.
Right.
So why, I know you've done so well on Facebook. You've used Facebook as a really great marketing tool. The community is, it's one of the very few on Facebook I actually even engage with. I actually personally I just don't have the time to be trolling through Facebook all the time. But for this group, I make the time because of all the valuable connections. But talk us through a little bit about what attracted you to, forget Eugenie, but just a platform off of Facebook. What were you looking for? And ultimately, yeah, it'd be great. What do you like about Eugenie as well, of course?
I think it's really important to have an offline community. What happens if there's no Facebook tomorrow? What if you've built this amazing community that is generating leads for you, that you have monetized on, that suddenly Facebook says you no longer have this group? What do you do then? You lose that. In an instant, that is closed. You can't how hard it is to rebuild that is very, very difficult. So it's really important from that perspective to have an offline community. I think also if you're going to monetize, you have to check into Facebook regulations as well. I think there are some things on Facebook that say you've got to have an offline base to have a membership base. But also because ultimately, I want my members to have something that they don't need to log into Facebook for. That they can disconnect from Facebook and that they can just come onto a platform which is their community, and then they can put whatever they want to put, and it's a safe space, and they're not worried about anything else. It's just all there, all in one place. And I think that's the key. Everything in one place. And I love the new, the whole Eugenie platform at the moment. It looks so nice. And it's, just putting content on there and getting the women to interact in that. You've also got the marketplace feature, which I think is amazing, because I think that's going to be really useful for us going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really important, because the key thing is, if you don't have Facebook tomorrow, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been hearing a lot. There's a lot of also, communities. I think one of the things I see, especially with a lot of corporates, and then we'll see if there's anybody has any questions. There's a few questions in the chat that we can address. Is the idea of, and I get this across the board, right? People think it's very easy to set up a group and set up a community. Let's create a Facebook group, let's create a WhatsApp group, and then in Slack, I get that a lot on Slack but no one's talking, right? We are putting in a lot of content, and no one is talking to us. And so, how did you face that in the beginning? Did you get where you were doing a lot of the engagement and people weren't responding, they weren't asking questions?
That's really interesting, because actually, so the group started 18, yeah, September. When the group started, my firstborn was, I think, 18 months old. And I remember I was in New York and I had just launched it. And I remember logging on to the group from New York constantly. And the reason was because I had to engage the group. I was live pretty much every single day. I was going live. I was talking about different things. I was teaching. I was giving value. I was constantly in that group. I did not leave that group. And I think I did that for a whole year. And then it wasn't until I don't know what's happened there. Until I fell pregnant with Bryn, my second born, that I noticed that my engagement dropped, because I was pregnant. I had the photography business going. I was just too tired to constantly be online. And even though I had admins, etc., it's not the same. People want you because you are the face of that group, and they get used to it, and they're like, "Where's Bhavna?" So I noticed a massive drop in engagement.
Yeah.
And then last year, I was like, "No, this is not what I want." So I started showing up again, and the more I showed up again, the engagement went up. And then from this year, it's just been, the growth has been upwards. There's not been a downward spiral. It's just been upwards. And I think a lot of it, obviously, yeah, COVID has kind of made, there's more people at home. There's more people online than ever before. But what it's done is allowed me to be present. It's
Yeah.
allowed me to engage more with my clients and with my audience and the community in general.
Mm.
So it's really important, because if you can't show up, if you're not consistent, you will see a drop. And that's with anything, any business, right? Any business you do, if you stop showing up, you will notice a difference. And you'll notice that, because unfortunately people can be quite fickle, and even though you have a community, you'll have you can build a community of a handful of loyal supporters and fans, but a lot of these people will also be part of other audiences and other communities. So if they're not getting what they want from your community,
Yeah.
you're not serving them anymore. And so if you're not serving them anymore, they're going to go somewhere else, and then you've lost that, right? You've lost that then. Yeah, I mean, you have to show up. You have to be present.
Definitely. And I think that's in any brand, right? It depends. It doesn't matter if it's like your model being having the Facebook group and the membership. I mean, if you are doing it for health and well-being products, and you build that community up, and people are coming to rely on you for that advice and that support, and you're no longer there. So, this is also very transferable. Thank you so much, Bhavna, across so many industries.
No worries.
Hopefully everybody got a little bit. We have a few questions that we can just address quickly.
Give me 1 minute, Susan. Just
yes,
1
of course.
second.
So I'll answer the questions that I can. And
Okay.
so do third-party schedulers affect algorithms on Facebook groups? Yes, they do. Facebook will always prefer its own algorithm and its own scheduler over any third party. And so, Facebook does have a scheduler. If you have a business page, you can use that scheduling feature to push your posts out. But yes, it does affect it. If you post a video that isn't native to Facebook, so if you do a YouTube like video, or you post a video, it's also not going to rank as high as a live, which is the same thing on LinkedIn, right? So if you do limited content on these platforms, they're always going to rank it higher than they are going to rank any third party. I mean, I'm not sure, how drastically the scheduling thing is going to affect it, but it does affect it. And then the other question that we have is about nurturing the group. Smia says she tries to show up as much as possible, but she worries, I worry it isn't enough. How do I know it's enough?
So I think the thing is, you need to show up every day in a group like yours, Smia. You need to be present. But I think also you need to maybe consider what you are sharing. Are you oversharing? Because sometimes if people are seeing the same content, they might think, well, actually, what's she doing that's different? If you're doing so, if you're going to show them a gua sha technique, maybe do it once a week. And then the other weeks, maybe bring in other people to talk about health and beauty. Diversify it a bit, but also maybe try and experiment with other products. Bring in other, talk about, just variety is the spice of life, as they call it. So just maybe think about what you're sharing. If what you're sharing is, if you think it's the same thing, I mean, you've got something that I think you do every Saturday or every Sunday, that's a great way of doing it. That's consistent, because, every week that's what's happening. But I think also think of other content that you can bring in.
So I think we're gonna wrap it up this evening. That's the end of our hour. I'm just going to quickly tell you guys a little bit about our mastermind. So, collaboration, but I think both Bhavna and I both feel very strongly about collaboration. And so we've come together to offer an 8-week mastermind of how to build a membership. And you could put in, a customer community, online community, whatever it is a social community. A lot of those principles actually are the same. So maybe the bits about payment models may not be super relevant in a social community, but ultimately, we're going to look through membership models, identifying your target client, all the way down to giving you advice on content for your community type. We're going to be starting this in August, and it's going to be a pop-up Facebook group. You're also going to get access to the Success for Superwomen Hub on Eugenie. And Bhavna and I are also going to give you guys access, because both of us as brands believe that people need to be supported through any online initiative. So you'd get 3 months on the Eugenie platform, and also 3 months in the hub, where Bhavna has so much training that can help you in different parts of your business. So if you have any questions or any interest in that mastermind, we are we've definitely been sensitive to COVID. It's only 97 pounds for an 8-week mastermind. So it's very, very, I think, affordable, but we want to just make sure that as people are using online community right now to really support their businesses through the COVID crisis, we want to be able to do our part and help you guys out. So if you've been looking at either building a membership or an online community, or you have one and you just want to learn and kind of learn the basics again, please do join us. And, we're really looking forward to this. We've got a lot of interest already. And I think we're just learning a lot from each other, actually. I'm always constantly learning too. So, so hopefully everyone
we'd love
enjoyed.
to have you. We'd love to have you. It will be amazing.
Bhavna, thank you again so much. I know you've got kids. I know evenings can be harder for the parents out there, but
that's okay. That's okay. It's completely fine. Not to worry.
Yes, and I'm sorry, guys, but any women in here who are not a successful superwoman, please come and join the group on Facebook so you can kind of check out the power. We've got the community watching with us tonight on Facebook as well. And if online community isn't easy, but it's worth it. So Absolutely. Have a good evening, guys, and thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.